A police investigation into lockdown parties at Downing Street may have derailed a critical report into the scandal. The Metropolitan Police have asked that key details be withheld from the Sue Gray report, again delaying its release. Sky News correspondent Annalise Nielsen joins us live from Downing Street. Annalise, what does this mean for Boris Johnson?
Well, it's bought the Prime Minister some very valuable time because right now no one knows what this means for the Sue Gray report. This is a critical report that's supposed to lay out in detail exactly who knew what when and who was involved with those parties at Downing Street that have horrified the public in the United Kingdom where they had such strict lockdowns. This intervention from the Metropolitan Police comes after earlier in the week they said that there was no impediment to this report by civil servant Sue Gray being released to the public. And the concern is that now if they go ahead and release a redacted or summarised version, it's going to gloss over some of the worst aspects of it. And especially for those within the Tory party that are waiting to find out if they go ahead with a motion of no confidence in Boris Johnson, it just adds further questions into the mix. The statement put out by the Met Police to try and clarify this says, for the events the Met is investigating, we asked for minimal reference to be made in the Cabinet Office report. The Met did not ask for any limitations on other events in the report or for the report to be delayed, but we have had ongoing contact with the Cabinet Office, including on the content of the report to avoid any prejudice to our investigation. Now, that word prejudice is what has piqued the most interest because that seems to imply that there would be some kind of criminal charges or a jury trial. Those are really the only instances in which prejudice would be an issue. And on the evidence that we know so far, that isn't highly likely. So it casts even further doubt onto what exactly we're expecting out of this report. And of course, whether if it's redacted, it will have the same kind of ability to cast light on what happened here. Of course, Labor has said that this isn't good enough. They want to see the full report released as soon as possible.
But what I want to see is Sue Gray's report in full and the investigation finished as quickly as possible, because we're in this situation where the whole of government is paralysed because the police are now looking at what the Prime Minister was getting up to in Downing Street. What I would say to Sue Gray is let's have that report in full just as quickly as possible. No redactions, no edits, no bits left out.
Now, changing the subject slightly, Annalise, and it's a more generalised question for those watching this morning, and there's lots of them around the country and around this part of the world that want to get to the Northern Hemisphere. You are now back travelling a bit more. What is your experience as to getting in and out of London and so on?
Well, it's been as easy as it has been for a while. To get into London, I just needed to fill out a form online, a passenger location form, so that they could track where I was if I did test positive. And then to do that, I also had to book an appointment to have a COVID test. And that's only 2 days after arrival, so I did that this afternoon, and that's linked to my passenger arrival form. So that means if I test positive, then the news goes straight to the government here, and then I'm required to isolate for 5 days. And then after that, if I test negative on a rat test, then I can go home. And of course, to go back to America, I'll need to clear a rat test anyway. So this is why it's gotten a lot easier. And it's funny, coming from DC, this only recently been implemented that you have to go and get your vaccine card and an ID that matches to go into restaurants, any venues really outside of your home, short of the supermarket. You pretty much have to show ID and your vaccine card. It's a lot more relaxed in London just this week. Masking indoors isn't an option. Some people still are wearing masks if they feel like it. Others are more than happy to skip it. And things do really feel like they've gone back to normal here. There's kind of a bustle around, which I haven't seen in DC as much as well, with a lot of those federal departments working remotely. It's still quite quiet around the city. Here, there is that kind of sense that life's gotten back to normal. And especially a lot of those who were taking the restrictions seriously, now they've seen what happened at Downing Street and how the government was reacting. Of course, it was quite a political thing for them to say, oh, we're going to ease up, everyone move on, nothing to see here. But there is that aspect of, like, why are we locking down if our politicians aren't doing the same thing? So it does seem to be that kind of momentum to move on. And even listening to local talkback radio today, a lot of businesses were saying that they've seen an uptick even in the last few weeks with people kind of embracing the old normal again.
Yeah, it's encouraging news, despite the fact that the government got out the party balloons. But that story's not going to slow down anytime soon. Annalise, great to talk to you.